Hello, everyone, and welcome to another MOPs motion design kind of tutorial. So today we're going to be doing this. So it's not that difficult. Let me change this. Nope, nope. Right? Yes. Let me just tidy up a bit. So I'm just going to take this background so that we can see stuff. So it's not really difficult. It's really a simple stuff. I'm using MOPs here. If you don't know what MOPs is a plugin for Houdini. You can get that online, or I'll drop the link down below. So if you want to follow this tutorial, is you have to know MOPs. You might need to know a little bit basic of MOPs before you can tag along. So find a way to do that. So let's get started. So it's not really difficult. We have like the background. I created a background. Yeah, and this is the effect, and this folder, this is the particles. So we have particles floating, and we have the effect floating too. So let's start with the object. So as you can see, we have like let me get some room here. So as you can see, we have like a couple of tubes, and just so like this can be easy to understand, because I'm not really doing step by step, or else this would be a very long tutorial. So push this here and push this here. I think this should be it. So basically, as we can see, we have like a sphere, and we have like a couple of rings here. So, and what these rings are, just basically tubes that I duplicated like a couple of times, as you can see. And what I did, I added a mesh to mesh them all together. Then I did like a labs auto UV. I didn't really do any UV, and it UV'd everything, which gave me this it give me this basic like random UV. It's not something sexy. So, and I added a subdivision, and this is just to export this out to Substance Painter, because I usually texture in Substance Painter. You don't have to do this. You can actually do this in Redshift or whatever, how you texture in Houdini. It's not really a big deal. And we have normal. It's just to give normals, just in case it doesn't have normals. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is useful, but I just do that just for precaution. So that's pretty much it. If you basically, let me just explain this before we go to the next step. So like I said, it's just tubes. I'm using modeler here, which gives me a lot of when I create a tube with modelers QTube. Modeler is a modeling plugin for Houdini. If you don't know about that, you should Google that and check out what that is. It's really, really good. So modeler has this thing that makes this tube primitive. You can make it like a pipe. You can add some bevels, and you can do that, which makes my life a lot easier. But if you don't have modeler and you still want to follow along, you're not really doing anything crazy. You're just going like let's go add a tube, and let's just turn this off. So if you want to follow along, just let's go into the tube, and let's make this like hold down shift, and you can bring it down this way. You can add like labs thicken. Labs comes with Houdini, so you have to like install it, or you install it during you when you were installing Houdini, so you can install that. I think you can come here and install labs. Just find a way to install labs. And what I can now do is like like make like a poly split. I'm just so that in case you don't have modular, so you can actually just figure out how I did this. So then poly split, I can say edge, and just then make a number of loops, maybe like 2 or something like that. Just for my subdivision later on, because this is low poly. Then I can now say a poly bevel. I usually don't walk this slow because I use modeler. So this thing, you can go to like groups and let's and just and just press enter. So we have that in the group. So if we like click this, this is just basic like modeling. So maybe it's something like this. And you can add like a subdivision, or maybe add like another poly split for the interior. Poly split. And make sure it's on edge loops. Yeah. Increase this. So now we have this. So what I can now do is like add like a merge and just put this here. So now we're gonna follow this through the merge. So what you saw me in this one was just that what I did there was everything I did there, I did that in modular's primitive, which is really fast and amazing too. So and then I just duplicated this and I went back up here, and press the hold down shift and just scale this up. And I honestly I eyeballed this shit, so forgive my French. And let me adjust my mic. And I just did that over and over again. So I couldn't think of a better way to actually like duplicate. Oops. To actually duplicate these things. And so basically that's what I did. I did like 12 of this, I think. Let me check. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I did like 12 of that. So let me turn this off so we can move on. So I did 12 of that. If you come down here, you can see pretty much the same thing. Just continue doing that. And I just eyeballed it, so it's not like a perfect measurement or anything. So I added like an auto UV, and like I said, it just gave me a random UV so that I can texture. Then I added a subdivision and I exported that out for Substance Painter and brought the textures in. So I added the normals, and now let's go where the magic is. So we have like a MOPs convert. And so the reason I'm using MOPs convert just packs the primitive basically, and like packs it with and sees it as individual pieces, so that I can actually use MOPs falloff attribute here. So if I preview this, I added a MOPs falloff attribute. The reason I'm using MOPs convert, because if I turn this off, it doesn't work. It's messed up. And you know what? Let me just show you something really interesting. Yeah. So this is what's happening when you do MOPs convert. So you can see we have this dot. If we should oops, come on. Now if you see everything, we have this so much points in our primitive, but if I do MOPs convert, you can see we have just one dot. Actually we have 12 dots. If I should transform, just put this here and just move this dot. So everything is in the center of the tube basically. So that's why we are seeing like just one dot instead of 12 dots. So everything is in the center of the wall. So we have MOPs convert. I hope that's understandable, because I just want you to understand why this exists. So the next thing we have like MOPs falloff attributes. So what it does, it actually uses the ID of each object, and without MOPs convert, we won't have that ID. We won't have that separate object for MOPs attribute to understand and see. So that's what it just did. Just creates a falloff based on each one. So I'm just going to move this here so that you guys can, when you're following along, you can actually understand what I'm doing. So I'm just going to replace this because I did some stuff too in the MOPs attributes, and I'm going to say preview falloff. So now what we have here is that we have blue to white, and that what this basically means 0 to 1. That's what it means, and it's taking each ID and just giving it a different color from 0 to 1. So what I did was I did a remap. I went to remap. So you see attribute name ID. So I went to remap and I did do falloff, and I just flip the ramp because I wanted it to go from 1 to 0. Then I took this up just a bit because now take a look. We have 1 to 0. Now this is the interesting part of this tutorial. Now I'm going to come to MOPs transform modifier. Yeah, I'm coming back to MOPs attribute, but I'm going to go to MOPs transform modifier, and I just want to show you why I did the MOPs transform modifier. Is that if you can see, let's turn the MOPs attribute falloff, or you know, better yet, let's just say turn off do falloff. These are MOPs. This is a MOPs plugin, like I said before. MOPs transform modifier. You can just tab and type that. Then if you click on this, you can see on my timeline, I just did like an animation. And what's this animation I did? So let's start. Let's check this out. So on the x-axis, yeah, you can see that, yeah. On the x-axis, I went from 1 to 30. I made it 365. It's 360. So I turned this object 360 degrees on the x-axis. So you can see it turns that on the x-axis. If you don't know how to add an animation, just press Alt on any of this. So we can like press Alt on this, and let's go like this, and we can, you know, go like this, and you do this, and that's what's gonna happen. Oh, oops, sorry. So let me just teach you guys how to do animate. I know this is redundant for someone who knows how to do this, just in case there's no one who doesn't know how to do this. So you can move this up, and you know, and if you play this, you can see it goes up. So bit short tutorial, sorry. So I'm moving from the x-axis. I'm moving from 0 to from 1 to 30. I turned this on the x-axis 360 degrees, and normally what I would do is like I wanted to turn it back, so I went to 90. So I doubled the frame because I said minus 360 degrees on the z-axis, because what I've been animating is the z-axis. So on the z-axis, I turned it 360, then on the x and I turned it back again. You can see how it's turning. Turn this way, then it turned this way back. So I hope you get the gist. Then I on the x-axis now, so I went back to 0 here. Yeah. So I went back to 0 here, so I can get it back to 0. So on the x-axis, I turned it 360, just the same thing I did before, and I turned it back again. And you can see I added the gap. It's because I'm doubling the degrees. So, and that's pretty much it. That's what I did there. But if you should check do falloff and we turn it, you see what's happening? Exactly. It's really cool. So now you can see this is not moving. The reason why the blue is not moving, because that's 0. So the MOPs falloff doesn't know what to do with this. It's like, okay, this will not turn, but everything will turn. And you can see the degree at which this turns. So you can see this huge gap, which this too is an interesting effect on its own. But I didn't want that. I want them to like to be close to each other a bit. So so that's why I moved this up a bit. So now we are not like 1 to 0, we're like 1 to 1.5. Let me just put this here so that you can understand. So now this is 0 to 1. So now I'm going from like 0.5 to 1. So you can get, so we have 1 to 0.5. So So now when I add the MOPs falloff, we don't have those large spacing, so everything works fine now. So it's really a nice effect. So we turn to the other way, and we go back to 0, then we turn the other way, then we go on this other way, and we go back to 0, and that's pretty much it. So then the next so the idea of this is like layering. I'm layering like different MOPs for MOPs modifier on this stuff. So now the next MOPs transform, I actually check do not do fall off. So basically this is just a normal transform, because the power of MOPs transform is that it can use MOPs fall off to actually animate objects. So now this is basically a normal transform because I'm not checking MOP do fall off. So now what did I do here? So I'm just going to turn this off, so that it does, since I said don't do follow, so we can see what's really doing. So I'm just going to play this, and basically I just turned 2 axes to different aspect, and it gave me this random wobbly effect that you can see here. So what did I do? Look at this. On the rotate, on the X and Z axis, I just turned this I think in like 360. Yeah, I just turned both of them 360, and that gave me this wobbly effect. And you can see one got to 360 earlier than the other, so I just made it so that you can have this like randomness kind of thing. So pretty much that's all. So why did I do that? Because I wanted it to like wobble a bit and just give me some abstract kind of animation, nothing. So if I should turn back the MOPs transform, the first one that we did, which has the do fall off, which is this MOPs attribute, and if I do that now and I press play, we have this wow, it's wobbling and it's creating this dynamic thing. You can see how just layering effect just makes something look complicated when it's not. So it's nothing. But I was looking at this, I was like, this kind of still kind of boring. It's still not some capish or kadoosh. So I just at first this was okay for me. So that's why you can see I have a material here. This is where I textured, added the texture. I want to turn this off. Preview fall off. I don't want to see that anymore. So I added the texture and I did that. But we have this sphere, yeah. You have this sphere here, which is like I added an auto UV and added the material. And that's pretty much it. And it's at the center of the world, so I didn't really need to do anything. So I just merged 2 of them together. So I merged this and that together, and that's what gave me this. So we have this ball, and if you press play, nothing is happening. It's just this sphere turning around the ball because it's in the center of the world. So, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is cool, but we need something. I needed to wobble, I needed to float in 0G, that'll make it cool. So I added this also. So now we can see it's bouncing in 0G. So how did I make it bounce in 0G? Very easy effect. I went down here. I'm just going to recreate this again so that you can see. But first of all, so that you can see the effect, I'm just going to turn this off, because I don't want that to distract us. So what we have here is just a wobbling effect. That's this transform here. And I'm just going to just create another transform. And yes, just put that there. So we're working on this one now. So if you press play, nothing's happening. So what I did was just on the y-axis, I right click and I go to motion effects and I said wave. And now that we have waves, I'm just gonna play. Oh, let me see. So we're playing and we have it already. So what I did was increase the period to slow it down a bit. And we have that. And I reduced the amplitude because I didn't want it to like wobble so much. So this works for me, yeah. So now if I turn back this wobbling around, now we can turn this one now, and that's it. That's basically it. So you can see now the effect is more interesting because now there's it's just layers of animation on top, which is really amazing with Houdini, and MOPs, so we can create this cool effect that's going on, and that's pretty much it. So now, if you watch this, just watch this, and it snaps. I'm not sure why it's not snapping now, but it was snapping in my, it jumps to another one. So that's where I use MOPs make loop, which to me this is black magic. I don't understand how it works. I don't know what it does. It just knows what to loop and how to loop it, and you can loop anything. So basically, yeah. And I just added this. And to let me just redo this. Let me just tell you how awesome this is. So I'm just say labs make a loop. Yeah. And you plug this to this and you turn this on, and you just change this to primitive. Make sure you do primitive. If you're working on particles, you use particles, so it's be able to loop particles. If you're working with volume and VDB, you use volume and VDB. So you do that, and that's all you need to do, and it will loop. You have this, just be patient. And it just continues. It doesn't, just amazing stuff. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the animation. I just added textures to it. So the textures, like I said, I did my textures in Substance Painter. That's why you can have all this, like this metal thing. I did that in Substance Painter with one material I had. I didn't really do anything. I just applied a random material I have in my library, and that was really cool. And I adjusted the tiling, and I just brought it back here, and I just that's it. That's basically nothing. That's just it. This is just the roughness, metal, and that. So you can texture this yourself any way you want. You can texture this anyhow you want. You can use Redshift or Cops or anything. It doesn't matter. So, and that's that for that. And let's move up. This tutorial is not too long. The particles. So what did I do? It's really simple. So I'm just going to, you can see I just brought a sphere. I turned it to polygon, and I made it frequency 1, and I made it really small. Then I added the normals. I just do this. It's just an habit. You might not need to. But then I did a MOPs instancer. So a MOPs instancer created this grid. So I'm just going to make this big so that we can understand what's going on. Just make it 1. So MOPs instancer, I used the honeycomb distribution. So basically what I just did was so that you guys can understand what's going on. I did the honeycomb, go to distribution. Now it's on grid. We can like maybe do this. Now this is too even for me. So I just needed something that would give me some sense of unevenness. So we have this, and maybe, yeah, something like this. Then you can plug this to the MOPs randomize. So MOPs randomize just randomize. I just randomized the scale and just made it like a little bit, some stuff a little bit big and some stuff a little bit small, so you can see. And then I add mob noise modifier, so that just scatters it a bit. So the mobs modifier, noise modifier, I went, let me see my settings. I just left this. I think I just left it at the basic one. Yeah, nothing. I didn't really do anything. Yo. So make sure when you do this, yeah, you can see when we press play, it starts playing, which is the amazing thing about MOPs noise modifier. It's like it just does the work for you. This would have been something I would do in DOPS, but because of MOPs, I can just do it. Yeah. Now you can see it's snapping. Yeah, just watch. It's moving and it snaps. You can reduce, you can stop the snap. I think you can make a looping noise. I tried it, but it didn't work. But I just want to show you the magic of MOPs loops. It's the juju, the black magic of Houdini. I don't know how they do it. My brain can't comprehend it. So MOPs noise modifier, yeah, and usually the default is going to be like this at 1, and if you press play, it's just going to be fast. So the time scale, you just reduce it a bit. So that's that. So you can like maybe increase the frequency, and just play with the amplitude and just play with all this stuff. But I didn't do anything. I don't think I did anything. So I just left it to 1 1 1 1, and I just played with this. And that's that. Then I added the make loops. You noticed before it was not looping, yeah. So now if you press play, just watch. Magic! It did it. This blows my mind. Like you can loop anything, any animation, like just continues, like just works. So and I added a material and I added a glowing material. So and that's pretty much it. But so let's make it smaller again. So let's bring this back in. So this is the one, my MOPs instance. I added more spheres. So I'm just going to take this to like, I think it was 0.02. So you can see they're very small. They're very tiny. I just needed them to be like that. And they don't eat much RAM because the polygons are they're very low. So and that's pretty much it. I added a material for each one, and that's that. And if you turn this on, and the background is just, it's just black background, yeah. And for the lighting, I did it. You don't need an HDRI because the kind of lighting was kind of like contrasty and cinematic, and I can't really see. So I added one light at the top, yeah, and I added another light at the bottom, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. And the thing I did again was, let me go to the out and went to redshift and volume scatter, enabled volume scatter because it had this fog going on. Yeah, this fog going on if you press play. So the volume scatter helped with that. And yeah, just play with the settings. I just did this, and that's pretty much it. For redshift, the sample I just did 316. It was pretty fast. 240 frames. It took like I think 30 or 40 minutes to render this. And yeah, what am I missing? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, let me just show you how it looks like. You can actually leave the tutorial now. So basically, oh, my depth of field is on. Yeah, that's it. So yes, before I forget, don't go yet, don't just go yet. Added some like post effect from redshift, which is really cool. Added like some bloom to make stuff glow, and flare and a streak, and I just played with the settings. It's nothing crazy. The contrast, I just did a little bit of that. That's it. And let me just show you. For this, I just did an emissive materials, nothing crazy. See the ball. So I made the base color red, and I went down to the emissive and I made it like orange, and I increased the radiance to like 10 to make it glow. So you see, it's not glowing. Then 1 2 is not glowing, so I just did 10. Yeah, so it's brighter, like the power of the glow. I don't even think I did anything. I'm sure the roughness is, even look at the roughness, it's actually a reflective ball. So it's supposed to be this, if that makes sense. But I think the reflection actually works. Yes, that's it. And this, not the background is not supposed to look like this because the background is turned off, and voila, and that's it. And pretty much it. And I render out, and that's it. So I hope you guys learned something. If I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. This was long. I was not hoping for this to be long. Bye bye.